The United States Congress certified President-elect Donald Trump as the winner of the 2024 election in proceedings that unfolded today without challenge, in stark contrast to the January 6, 2021 violence as his mob of supporters stormed the Capitol. Lawmakers convened under heavy security and a snowstorm to meet the date required by law to certify the election. The whole process happened swiftly and without unrest. But the legacy of January 6, 2021 leaves an extraordinary fact. The candidate who tried to overturn the previous election won this time and is legitimately returning to power, as Congress turns a blind eye to significant voter suppression, disinformation, and election interference that helped Donald Trump get over the line by just enough of a margin to be declared the winner. Vice President Kamala Harris, presiding over proceedings, read the tally, including of her own defeat. The chamber broke into applause, first Republicans for Trump's 312 electoral votes, then Democrats for Harris's 226. Within half an hour, the process was done.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes. This announcement of the state of the vote by the President of the Senate shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons elected President and Vice President of the United States, each for a term beginning on the 20th day of January 2025.
But as lawmakers gathered, layers of tall black fencing flanked the U.S. Capitol complex in a stark reminder of what happened 4 years ago, when a defeated Trump sent his mob to fight like hell in what became the most gruesome attack on the seat of American democracy in 200 years, which to this day has not been prosecuted. Ironically, Republicans who challenged the 2020 election results when Trump lost to Joe Biden now express greater trust in U.S. elections after he defeated Kamala Harris. And Democrats, frustrated by Trump's victory, nevertheless accept the choice of the American voters, the House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries saying his side of the aisle is not infested with election deniers. One by one, the state results were read aloud by the tellers as senators and representatives sat in seats in the House chamber. Vice President-elect J.D. Vance joined his former colleagues and was surrounded by congratulatory handshakes, hugs, and photos afterwards. Trump said online that Congress was certifying a great election victory and called it a big moment in history.
Well, today was obviously a very important day, and it was about what should be the norm and what the American people should be able to take for granted, which is that one of the most important pillars of our democracy is that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. And today I did what I have done my entire career, which is take seriously the oath that I have taken many times to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, which included today performing my constitutional duties to ensure that the people of America, the voters of America, will have their votes counted, that those votes matter, and that they will determine then the outcome of an election. I do believe very strongly that America's democracy is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. Every single person their willingness to fight for and respect the importance of our democracy. Otherwise, it is very fragile, and it will not be able to withstand moments of crisis. And today, America's democracy stood.
The day's return to a U.S. tradition that launches the peaceful transfer of presidential power comes with an asterisk as Trump prepares to take office in just 2 weeks with a revised sense of authority. Or maybe that's authoritarianism. He still denies that he lost 4 years ago. He muses about staying beyond the Constitution's 2-term White House limit and promises to pardon some of the more than 1,250 people who have pleaded guilty or were convicted of crimes for the Capitol siege. What is unclear is if January 6, 2021 was the anomaly, the year Americans violently attacked their own government, or if this year's calm becomes the outlier. The US is struggling to cope with its political and cultural differences when democracy worldwide is threatened. Trump calls January 6 a day of love, despite 5 people dying. 1 was shot by Capitol Police, another died of a drug overdose, 3 died of natural causes, including a police officer who died a day after being assaulted by rioters. Many people were injured, including 174 police officers. President Joe Biden, speaking on Sunday at the White House, said, "We've got to get back to the basic normal transfer of power. What Trump did last time," Biden said, "was a genuine threat to democracy. I'm hopeful we're beyond that now." Still, American democracy has proven to be resilient, and Congress, the branch of government closest to the people, came together to affirm the choice of Americans. With pomp and tradition, the day unfolded as it has countless times before. Last time, far-right militias helped lead the mob to break into the Capitol in a war zone-like scene. Officers have described being crushed and pepper-sprayed and beaten with Trump flagpoles, slipping in other people's blood. Leaders of the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys have been convicted of seditious conspiracy and sentenced to lengthy prison terms. Many others face prison, probation, and home confinement for other penalties, but Trump, as both the instigator and perpetrator, has been allowed to walk free. Democrats decry the day, but many Republicans hold firm in their views. Republican Representative Mike Collins of Georgia said he was thankful that Trump had promised pardons. Trump was impeached by the House on the charge of inciting an insurrection that day, but was acquitted by the Senate. At the time, GOP leader Mitch McConnell blamed Trump for the siege, but said his culpability was for the courts to decide. Federal prosecutors subsequently issued a 4-count indictment of Trump for working to overturn the election, including for conspiracy to defraud the United States, but special counsel Jack Smith was forced to pare back the case once the MAGA Supreme Court ruled that a president had broad immunity for actions taken whilst in office. Smith last month withdrew the case after Trump won re-election, adhering to Justice Department guidelines that sitting presidents cannot be prosecuted. Joe Biden, in one of his outgoing acts, awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal to Representatives Benny Thompson and former Representative Liz Cheney, who had been the chair and vice chair of the Congressional Bipartisan Committee that conducted an investigation into the January 6 attack on the Capitol. Trump, in true authoritarian style, said those who worked on the January 6 committee should be locked up. Trump said he would issue pardons to rioters on day 1 of his presidency, which begins on the 20th of January. "Most likely I'll do it very quickly," he said recently on NBC's Meet the Press. He added that those people have suffered long and hard. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia said she had spoken at length with Donald Trump and is lobbying him to pardon everyone who participated in the siege. Few Republicans are going that far, but many believe it's appropriate for Trump to look at pardons on a case-by-case basis. Many of those who broke into the Capitol were echoing Trump's false claims about election fraud. House Democrats, who led the drive to impeach Trump over January 6 and conducted a wide-ranging investigation into the attack, warned that the pardons could have far-reaching consequences, both for the rule of law and the security of the country. Mary Trump, the estranged niece of the president-elect, made 2 predictions ahead of her uncle taking office later this month. She first predicted that chaos and division within the Republican Party, saying billionaire Elon Musk's role in the most recent bipartisan budget deal will not serve the GOP well. Republicans do not know how to govern, she said. We know this, and that assessment was validated 2 weeks ago when Donald and Elon Musk blew up a bipartisan budget deal, placing us on the brink of an entirely unnecessary government shutdown. Chaos and division, however, are terrible if you have an interest in governing, and the Republican Party will not be well served. This will expose weaknesses that Democrats can and must exploit to mitigate the damage Republicans plan to do to civil rights and our institutions, Mary Trump wrote. She also predicted that a strong coalition of Democratic governors will be the ones to help protect against the fascism, she said. Donald Trump has been called a fascist by some of those who worked in his previous administration, including the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, who described the president-elect as being fascist to the core. The United States is welcoming its first fascist into the White House with a fanfare. Only time will tell if his violent threats of day one American carnage will see the light of day. I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.